Welcome back to the Mental Game Gym podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Crome, and today's episode is a little bit different. In fact, it's a milestone. Up until now, it's just been me walking you through the mental side of performance. But today, I'm bringing on my very first guest. And this guest is someone who really gets it. He's another mental performance coach who's out there working with athletes, helping them build confidence and focus and resilience. So I'm really excited to welcome Charles Miller to the show. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. We're live. Welcome,
Awesome.
Charles. Thanks for being here. So why don't you start us off by telling us, listeners and myself, a little bit more about yourself. So your journey into the world of mental performance coaching and why you're doing what you're doing.
Of course. I mean, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I know we've been messaging back and forth, so I'm really happy that we're taking that time today to do this. So I'll make this as simple as possible. My name is Charles Miller. I'm a certified mental performance consultant. I've been doing this for 5 years. I'm based in Montreal. I work with a lot of sports programs, sports team, organization, obviously the individual athletes, any type of performers who's looking to work on their mental performance, which is now, I'm sure you've noticed this, Andrew, like it's a growing field. You know, you've got business people, you've got students, athletes, you've got artists that are looking into the mental performance world. So it's been a blessing to be in this field at this time. To answer your question about what motivated me to go into this field, I'll be truly honest with you. I've had a passion for human behavior since I was very, very young.
Okay.
And I know stories are really good on podcasts, so I'll start with a short story. I something about myself. I used to play basketball. I played basketball for almost 20 years. I played here in Canada at the highest level. I played in the States, and I played in the UK a little bit right before COVID. So we can dig into that later. But when I was young, I started playing basketball, and I couldn't understand why my teammates were not working hard. I didn't understand, why am I more motivated than my teammates?
Mm.
And it's a question I really kept asking myself around 10, 11 years old. Why was I willing to get up, shoot, go to practice, shoot some more, and my teammates weren't? So I started this passion about understanding what makes us different, and the answer to that was always, what's happening between the years.
Yeah.
And through basketball, I had my own experience. Through, university, I started to learn more about the field, and then, somebody introduced me the job of mental performance consultant, and I just thought, wow, this is a great way to start in that field without having a PhD, right? I wasn't ready to go into a PhD. So to make it short, I'm a CMPC for the last 5 years. I love what I do. I have a real passion for human behavior. It started really, really young. I think by 11, 12 years old, I knew I was going to be in the field of sports psychology.
That's very interesting to me because, like, when I was growing up and playing sports and competing,
Yeah.
like I knew, like in practice, right, I was pretty good, and then a lot of times when it came to competition, I would struggle, and I wouldn't know why. So when I went to university and started learning about, because I knew I wanted to be in sport, but I was doing psychology classes and sports psychology classes, and that's when I really started to know, like, oh, this this sounds like the issues that I went through. How many other people are struggling with these things or need access to these skills? So for me, that's kind of why I went down that path, because as an athlete, I could have used all the things that we're working with athletes on today.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's another thing, right? Like being an athlete myself for a long time, and I've had my fair issues as well. And then you start noticing, like, okay, there's a reason why this is happening. You're not the only one. For anyone who's listening that feels like they're the only one with the imposter syndrome or performance anxiety, this might be good for you, but there's a lot of people out there, and it's not just the kids, it's not just the young adults or the young
Oh no.
people, it's all of us,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean that's a great way to get into the field. You start doing a bit of research, you're like, okay, like this is something that I could study. This is something that I could help people with. And obviously, like, this is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, for sure. So was there a personal like moment or experience that made you realize, well, how important, you know, the mental game is? Like when you were playing, was there a moment that sticks out that makes you
Hmm.
realize like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is important.
There was a few. I think my first one was when I was young. To come back to that previous story, we had this one game and we lost by 25 points. I still remember the score. It was 50-25. And this was house league, right? Like I was 11, 12 years old. This was not competitive at all.
Right.
And I remember we lost 50-25, and I scored 23 of the 25 points of my team. And I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't understand why people weren't working. And I was struggling with almost understanding that you don't control what others are doing. And I remember my dad wrote me a note on my little basketball journal. I used to write my games and practices. He wrote me a note and he said, learning and understanding that you'll never control people is a valuable lesson. The earlier you know this, the better it will be. And he also said, this can be a lifetime challenge,
Hmm.
meaning even today at 30 years old, there's still a situation where I wonder why people do things. So that's one memory that to this day, it's been 20 plus years, I still remember vividly. Another experience was when I transitioned from high school to what we call CJEP here in Quebec. So in Quebec, we have CJEP, which is about 2-3 years of kind of like pre-college. It prepares you for university.
Okay.
And the basketball level is really high here in Quebec. And I made that team in the first year, which is in Division One, which is the highest level you can play at this age. And I went from being the guy scoring 30 plus points to not playing in the first 6 games of the season. And actually,
Right.
like, yeah, like actually sitting and, I kind of like sitting with my thoughts and like what's going on. And it wasn't physical because I was doing good at practice. It wasn't technical. I knew how to shoot. I was a shooter all my life. It wasn't tactical. I knew the games. I knew the play. I had a solid IQ. It was purely mental. It was purely mental, not understanding my role, complaining, comparing myself, focusing on stats, not understanding, hey, you're a rookie. You might sit for a bit. You got to learn. You got to show me more in practice. I can try to put you in, or I can go with this veteran who's got 1 year of experience
Yeah.
and is just as good as you right now. So that was a big experience for me where I started understanding, okay, it's what's happening up here that is not clicking. Eventually it did, and then I wouldn't say I went on a tear for the rest of the season because I missed the first 6, right? But I had some really strong game as a rookie at John Abbott College. Um, we were hosting nationals that year, which gave us an automatic bid. And there's one specific game where I went off like you will, and that really like changed my whole mindset between me and you because I knew I was a rookie who didn't play, and now at the end of the year, I'm a core element of that team. I play a huge role. We finished fifth in the country that year, despite being the complete like not favored to win anything.
Hmm.
And I know mentally I was probably at my top. I was at one of the top I've ever been at that age for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's a great story and kind
Thank
of
you.
really gets into your your mind and kind of background of why you wanted to get into this work, and those experiences that you went through must help you today in like talking with other athletes and saying, this is what I experienced, right? They're probably experiencing the same things.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps you kind of, they start to kind of understand what, you've been through, and
Mm-hmm.
they can trust you because, well, he's been there before and he's gone through it, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
It solidifies everything that I talk about,
for sure.
because, like, I give you an example. Like right now, I was with the team this morning, a soccer team. I'm still at the soccer complex. I have another team coming in later. And I tell these guys, I've never played soccer in my life, but in terms of on the mental side, I've done a lot in my sports, and that's my role. My role is really to help you develop and fulfill your full potential using the right mental skills.
Yeah,
And some of these guys are rookies, some of the girls are rookies on those teams, and it's understanding that your time will come. You're here for 4 or 5 years at university. Nobody cares about how you start. Like I look at that season, those first 6 games I didn't play, I needed that. And then, the rest is history. I was able to kind of get out of that pattern, and I was lucky enough that it happened within that first year. But how many people are listening right now where, maybe if I look at soccer season, we're recording this in October,
yeah,
season's almost over. It's possible that some of these players haven't gotten that much burn, that much playing time, but it's a preparation for next year when those rookies are going to come and you'll be the one playing, and they'll start complaining and blaming and making excuses. You got to be the one coming in and saying, like, no, 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 I've been in your shoes. In due time, it will come. Those experiences were huge for me, you know, for the next level that was after that, and the next one, and the next one. And even now, when I started my work as a mental performance coach, at the beginning, you're playing with your thumbs, buddy. Like, you're doing this at home. You're waiting for those calls. You're waiting for those opportunities. If you've never gone through that, that's when people quit. That's when people stop and
yeah,
change job right away without really sitting in it and kind of like being in the mud, right? Like, you can have your feet in the mud and be okay. I'm not asking you to swim in the mud, but if your feet are in the mud for a little bit, you'll be fine. You'll survive. Shoes will be dirty. You clean them up, but you'll be okay. And too often, and I know we're going to talk about that later, that's what I'm noticing. We have athletes that are not okay with having their feet in the mud. They're not swimming
yeah,
or drowning in the mud, but their feet are a bit dirty and they have to wait, and they really have a tough time with that.
for sure. So one thing, then you mentioned it earlier, like more and more people are getting into the world of mental performance
Mm-hmm.
and kind of looking at it as a way to add to their training. But like one of the things that I have noticed is that a lot of athletes don't really think about the mental game until they're
Yeah.
struggling. I
Mm-hmm.
only get phone calls from athletes or parents when things aren't going or haven't
Wow.
been going the right way for the
Mm-hmm.
last few months or even, a year.
Mm-hmm.
So for your point of view, like why do you think athletes resist or overlook the mental side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even that, like a lot of coaches will, oh, you need extra coaching, like technical coaching, as opposed to you need to get help with, the mental side.
Yeah.
So why do you think, well, why do athletes resist, or overlook the
Mm-hmm.
mental side of the game?
Well, first thing first, it's not common yet. Like,
Yeah,
it's not something that most athletes are doing naturally. Like,
for
what are we
sure.
doing naturally? It's going on the pitch, going on the ice, going on the field, going lifting, going running, stretching. Those things are common. But sitting with a mental performance coach, having team workshops, coming up with goals, coming up with, I was telling you before we start recording, that I had my intention today was no complaining, no blaming, no making excuses. Having intention is not something common. Athletes show up to practice and they just do what's up, do whatever, right?
Yep, for
So that's the
sure.
first thing. It's just not a common. It's not common yet. But how does it change? It starts with teams that do have mental performance coach, and it's like, no, we do this. This is important. We ask Charles' opinion for some of the decisions that we make. He's involved in our one-on-one calls. He's involved in the staff. Like that's how the narrative change and the culture change around mental performance. Another thing too is it's still seen as a weakness.
Yeah.
It's still seen as a stigma. It's still seen as, oh, you need to talk to someone. Like, what's wrong with you? Where if you look at any successful individual, forget sports, just look at businesses, just look at
Hmm.
people that have an incredible amount of success. All of them have performance coach. All of
Yeah.
them have people are surrounded by people that are helping them. There's this great quote about there's a mountain of people behind everyone's success. My success,
Hmm.
your success, anyone's success. It's a mountain of people that are required. Um, so I'll go with the first one. It's not common. Two, it's hard, man. Like it. I mean, the second point. Sorry, the second point was there's a stigma around it.
Yeah.
People still see it as a sign of weakness. The third point is it's hard. It's hard to work on mental performance. It's very
Yeah.
abstract. It's not concrete. Like my water bottle is concrete. I can touch it. I can grab it. Right.
Yeah. Well, and
Mental.
you can see, right? You
Yeah.
can see when it's filled up. You can
Yeah.
see when it's empty.
There you go.
And that's something that, yeah, I talk about a lot, is because, well, you can't really measure it, right? If you're in the gym and you're lifting weights, you can see how things are growing.
Yeah.
But from the mental side, you can't necessarily see it. And it also takes a long time to kind of
Mhm.
get those habits so
Yeah.
that things start working. You can't just do it once and then, oh, it's not working, right? So, yeah, I have those conversations. And there was something that you said about the stigma behind it.
Mhm.
I never forget the first place that I worked. I was still studying, doing my master's, and I was working at a high school. And one of the athletes was told like who I was, and they suggested that she worked with me. And she just turned around and said, "Well, I don't need to speak to him. I'm not crazy."
Mm.
And that has stuck with me, ever since. Like, okay, yeah, there's still that stigma.
Yeah.
Um, I do see less of it, but it's still there. And
Yeah.
as you said, it's not easy to do. It's not. And plus, everybody's different. So you can't just read a book and say, well, I'm going to put all these into place because it might not work for you. You have to figure out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
That one element that I noticed that kind of helps is if a team just plugs you in for one-on-one session, it becomes really hard. Yes, the motivated athlete will reach out to you because they're motivated. They know they need this.
yeah,
But the athlete that is more, kind of like following the group, going with the flow, why would they talk to you? They don't see you at practice. They don't see you at games. They don't see you within the staff.
yeah,
So that's one thing that I've noticed, and that's why a lot of the teams we've slowly changed, kind of like the work we're doing with them, and it's mostly come to practice, have those mini intervention with the team, with the players, do any type of follow-ups you have to do after games, after practices, and one-on-ones. But my biggest thing is I gotta be there. I gotta be around. When a team message me and say, "We'd love for you to come in," I'm like, okay, what's the plan in terms of practices, games? Because if they see me once a week on that one slot and there's nothing else, some of them are just not gonna buy in because it's
yeah,
simple. They don't see your face.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I've realized that more and more. And then recently, yeah, you need to be around them, right? You need to be there so that, you're building that relationship. So then
Yeah.
they are going to reach out to you and open up more,
Mhm.
um, especially when they're a teenage male in
Teenage,
sports such as hockey.
yeah,
It's,
hockey, football, soccer.
yeah,
I mean, even basketball. Like, there's some sports too culturally.
yeah,
It's not. I was talking to a player here last week, a soccer player on the team. and he was just, we were chatting about some stuff, and it was probably our best conversation in the last couple of weeks. And he just told me straight up, like, culturally, it's just not something that they do. They keep stuff in, and it's when they explode, that's when it comes out. But other than that, it's almost like, hey, you keep stuff in for months and months and maybe years,
Yeah,
and then you explode. And that's just the way it goes. So it's important that mental performance individual in the field, we can't force it upon people. That's never going to work. They have to come towards us. Yes, you can create a conversation, create a narrative, but at the end of the day, they have to come towards you.
for sure. 100%. So there's something that I hear, and I want to get your kind of thoughts on it, is
Mm-hmm.
quite a few times I've had people say, when we're talking about confidence, like, well, I'll start to feel confident when I've made a play,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or if something good happens, then I start to feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see, well, does that make sense to you? And how do you flip that script so that they can actually start competitions, performances with that belief in themselves and with that confidence? Because what happens if nothing good happens?
Mm-hmm. What
And
happens?
then is their head going to go down and performance is going to suffer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of just waiting or hoping that something will happen so that they start to feel good and play better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I'm not teaching you anything. Confidence is within the gold medal profile, right? The the three probably the three most important mental skills to have: motivation, confidence, resilience. Confidence is up there. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's a huge part of mental performance. To answer your question, the way I kind of like trying to frame it is, if your confidence is only attached to scoring, making a play, what I usually teach it is you're depending on external factors.
Yeah.
Your game is depending on an external factor that is out of your control. We'll take the hockey player, for example. I've got this hockey player, plays in a prep school, great player, great guy. Charles, I play so much better when I've had my first point. You know? And I'm like, great, like I understand,
Mm-hmm.
but if that points only comes at the end of the game, you might have wasted
Wasted the whole game.
the whole game,
Yeah.
and basically you're depending on external factors that are completely outside of you. And I'll take the hockey player, for instance. There's a goalie who's trying to stop the puck. Like, goalies will make great plays. Goalie will go through a great length of effort to not let you score. So it's not like this is an easy thing or a common thing that the puck goes in the net,
Yeah.
you know? And the higher level you go, it's like, hey, this guy is a prospect for the next level. So yeah, he's pretty good at stopping the puck. So if we're lucky, we're going to score 2, maybe 3 today. So right away, there's an adjustment that needs to happen, Your level of confidence needs to come from internal things. So it's kind of like saying, today, if I depend on you telling me something positive or giving me a compliment or complimenting my hair or whatever, if I'm depending on you to say that, to feel confident, I might wait till the end of the show. I might wait forever. I might never get it. So
Yeah.
then instead of that, you've got to look inwards. What are some internal factors that you can look into in order to feel confident? I'm not going to give all my tips and tricks, but there's a few things that you can do. Give yourself an objective. Respect that. Have a good attitude. Your body language, your self-talk.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about? Like, what is your focus on? In my approach is based around control. So I usually teach my athletes what they truly control, and then there's a definition, there's an image, and all that. If it doesn't fit that, then why are we putting focus on that? And scoring a goal or getting points is not something that you control. And the sooner you realize that, the better it is. And the thing is this, is the same applies for me and you, Andrew. Like for us as as a
Yeah.
grown adult, our outcome is maybe status, it might be money in the bank account, things like that. I guarantee you, when you're chasing that, you're just getting away from it. You're chasing it, it's further from you. When you're
For
chasing
sure.
athletes, chasing teams, it's not the way it works. You got to focus on the process, do what's needed to improve every day, and you got to look inwards. What did I do today to get closer to my goals, get closer to my definition of outcomes? That's something else we can talk about. But in terms of confidence, stop looking outwards and really look inwards
Yeah. And I have that conversation a lot,
daily.
right? Daily. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it, it's something, yeah, even me, I just remember kind of growing up and thinking, well, I have to win, right?
Mhm.
I have to beat these people. I have to get this time and these stats, and kind of always focusing on the outcome, or always focusing on what other people are thinking, right? I don't want
Thinking,
to upset
doing, yeah.
people, right? Or, if I make a mistake, what is this person going to think? And then when you start to look at, well, can I control any of these things? Am I wasting my time? And now I like to look at it as kind of like a spotlight, right? Wherever your focus is,
Hmm.
you know, it's focused on either those things that you can't control, or it's focused on something that you can, and the present moment. So can we focus more on those things?
Yeah.
Um, which is, I mean, as you said, it's not easy.
No.
It takes work, it takes practice, but I I like to see athletes and kind of see how they change after we have that discussion about
Yeah.
what are the things you focus on. And it's really interesting how they start to change their focus and what they speak about, and how
Yeah.
they, as you said, how they quantify success. Like, what does that mean? What does a good performance
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Great point right there. And the athletes do change because the focus has been on that for so long that it's almost like they forget that other things exist or that they can put their focus on other things.
Yeah.
One question I really like to ask is, how do you measure performance? And I like to put them in a scenario where I tell them there's no points, there's no score, there's no time, there's no scoreboard. You're playing your game, basketball, hockey, soccer, football, and we have people measuring your performance. What are they looking at? And a lot of them, they give me the long face, they give me
Yep.
the confused face, and I'm like,
Yep.
what? How do we measure performance? You know, the outcome, the goal, the points, the stat is a plus.
Yep.
It's a privilege. It's the advantage. It's the reward when you think about it, right?
Well, yeah, it's the outcome of you putting in the work of doing things
Exactly.
that you can control.
Exactly. But then again, we have to be careful because when I tell an athlete that, they're going to tell me, yeah, but what about this guy? He's not working hard. He's not doing anything. And he's got 3 goals this year. And that's
Yeah.
why I go, yeah, well, there's a component of luck.
Yep.
There's a component of timing, context. There's a component of, again, you are not in control. So yeah, in hockey, the term is puck luck, right? A bit of
Hmm.
puck luck. Right place, right time. My stick's on the ice. All I got to do is push it in. Like there's some NHL guys that they've had their best year because they've had 8 goals like that, and it's like unheard of. But hey, good for them. But so we have to be careful too of what are we looking for.
Yeah.
And I don't know about the athletes you're working with, but I know mine, they're very picky about that stuff. And I just tell them, remember, it's not something you control. Yes, the person that does not work hard sometimes can end up with the most gold or the most points, but we have to look long term. Is that the way to prepare and anticipate success in the long term? And most often than not,
Mm.
the answer is no.
No. And you see scouts as well, and I saw recently scouts being asked questions of what do you look for when you're looking at athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and their answers are never, "Oh, I'm looking for the person that scores the most goals."
Never,
It's
never.
about their body language, how they are as a teammate,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I
Their response to situations.
Oh yeah, and those are the popular one, right? Attitude, body language,
Yeah.
how you respond to adversity. And I feel like scouts, as soon as you leave high school, scouts at that level are looking at that. And last January, I had the chance to speak with an NHL scout.
Okay.
Okay, won't mention his name or anything, but it was part of the one of the one of the recent NHL team who's won a Stanley Cup in the last 5 years. And we had this conversation. Obviously, he gives me all the one that we know: attitude, body language, emotion management, and all of that. And there's two mental components that he mentioned that I think we forget. The first one, he said, "You will never get an interview with our team if you're not a competitor. If you're not competing in every single thing that you do." To the point where when they interview players, they play board games. They play small games that are completely out of context.
Yeah.
But what they want to know is, one, who are you trying to compete with? Are you competing with the best person that is present in that day in the staff with the staff? Are you looking for the worst one, the medium one? They're looking for competitors in the weight room, in the on the ice, in winning battles with your nutrition. They're looking for competitors. It's a huge green flag for them. And the second one, they look at passion. How
Okay.
passionate are you about your sport? Is it eat, sleep, breathe hockey? Or it's eat, sleep, breathe hockey, TikTok, Instagram, video games. I go out with my friends and then I do it again, you know? And a great
Yeah.
sign for them in terms of hockey is for them, it was very simple. He was telling me a passionate hockey player knows everything that's going on in the league. You don't have to know how much point this guy has, but they know about transaction, they know about standings, they know about what's going on in the league, they know about maybe a big time player who's injured or not, and they just consume their sports. This is something that I've told many of my teams, right? Are you a competitor, and how passionate are you about your sport? Do we have to force your hand to come training and to do little stuff? Or you're actually like, no, I'm doing this on my own because that's what I want to do. And again, I'm generalizing right now because there's always
Mhm.
exceptions, but that passion component, I'm not seeing it as much as of late.
Yes. No, I have a few people that surprise me with how passionate
Of course, for, for
they are
sure.
and how
Yep.
competitive they are, and they love everything about it, right? Not just
Which
the winning.
is
But
great, which is great.
but you're right, I've seen
Hmm.
less of it. Um there's probably many reasons, but we don't need to get into that
No, no,
today.
no, 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 for sure.
Um so I mentioned kind of re- reactions to situations, right?
Hmm.
And obviously every athlete makes mistakes, gets stuck at some point, right? They've had, a bad shift, a bad few
We've
games.
had, right?
Oh, for sure. So many.
So many.
So how do you help them get over those things very quickly so they can stay in their performance and kind of refocus? Is that something that you talk about a lot? Is that something that
Yeah,
people
yeah.
have want you to help them with?
Hmm. Yeah. Like there's a few things I do, obviously, building that next play speed or next play mentality.
Yeah.
That's something that I work on, just helping them. You talked about the spotlight earlier, right?
Yeah.
Am I putting the spotlight on a mistake I just did, or I'm putting the spotlight on the next action, on the next play, on the next opportunity? And this is how you notice well, one, how confident players are, but also how much risk are they willing to take. You make a bad pass, if you know that you can correct that pass and you know you can to it right away, you're a lot more likely to make that risk to try that thing versus the opposite. So obviously just work on the next play mentality, giving them something quick to do. And for that, I like to work with the reset mechanism. There's a
Yep.
few techniques that I use. One that I use is called ABC, action, breath, cue,
Yep.
word.
Okay.
So you develop, you come up with an action, and obviously, like, there's moments where you don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
Like, for me in basketball, I would take my shot. I'm 0 for 4. I'm taking that fifth shot with confidence, and now I miss it, and now I know that if I don't reset, my head is gonna go elsewhere. There's an action that you can do. I developed my own action. Then there was a specific breath, and there was a specific cue word. This takes a session at least to come up with it. So it's not something that me and you are gonna do right now,
Yep.
but just developing something quickly to grab on, right? So take the example of you've made a bad pass,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're a defenseman, you're on the blue line, and you've made a bad pass. Defensemen are very stressed when they're on the blue line because a bad pass could lead to a breakaway,
Yep.
which again, it's normal, it's part of sports, right? But anyway, imagine you made that bad pass, and now it's not a breakaway, but it's created a 2-on-2.
All right.
If I focus on the next action, which is probably back check, like skate back on defense,
Yeah.
my focus goes right away from mistake to skate. And while I'm doing this, I can tell myself something as simple as poke the puck, reach for the puck, effort, get in front, sprint, all out, whatever cue word you developed. And as you're doing this, if you want to, you can do your breathing, a quick breathing. It doesn't have to be like any tempo, but it could just be a quick, or just putting the attention on the breathing. The goal is, if I follow this ABC technique, I've made the mistake, I've got my action, I've got my breath, I've got my cue word. I'm already 3 actions or 3 focus down the road from my mistake. The issue is we think mistake, 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 mistake. And now it's like you're thinking about the mistake. How do you expect that next play to go? You're
Yeah.
supposed to get back on defense. And more often than not, those mistakes will lead to nothing if you do exactly what you're supposed to do, which is back check, look to poke the puck, and then just do your best.
For sure. Yeah.
85% of the time, those mistake leads to nothing.
Yeah. And I remember, yeah, like making mistakes, like playing soccer and kind of, making a bad pass. It was intercepted.
Hmm.
And all I knew was I need to try harder to kind of make up for that mistake,
Yeah.
right? Or I need to try harder to get the ball back. And that ends up in me fouling someone
Hmm.
because I'm just so focused on I need to get the ball back, right? Or I'm replaying it in my mind over and over again. So
Yeah.
then my focus isn't on where it should be because I'm not focused on the present moment, right? I'm focused
Hmm.
on what has just happened. So yeah, having that thing it really helps, right? For them to go to of,
Hmm.
okay, this has happened. I need to do this now. This is my
Yeah.
routine that's going to help
Hmm.
me get back. So now I still play soccer, and if I make a mistake, I'll just, if I have the time, I'll grab a blade of grass and
Mm.
then just throw it away.
Amazing.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, next one. Okay, um, and that helps
For
me
sure.
kind of release that frustration and
Yeah.
that mistake.
I mean, I'll use a top athlete, Aaron Judge from the Yankees.
Yeah,
He grabs some sand and he kind of lets it go. And you go on YouTube, you write Aaron Judge reset mechanism. There's going to be a 30-second clips, and he talks about grabbing the sand, puts his focus on something else, and when he throws it, it's kind of like throwing the negative. It's very like concrete, right? You grab something, kind of do that. there's a few soccer girls here that kind of do something similar to you. They grab it and they go like that, almost like put it behind me. I was big on snapping my fingers.
Mm,
So I'd run back on defense. I'd snap my finger. It's something very subtle, very small, very quick that you don't see, right? And then I have my specific breathing. I'd go 2-2, so very nice, very simple. And then my word was I was big on using the word privilege. So I tell myself, hey, no matter what happens, privilege to be on the field, to be playing, to be competing, to have that opportunity, to have the ball in your like the list is long about the
yeah,
privilege, you know?
yeah.
It was something quick. I still do it just like you. I still play my sports, and when those moments happens, you know, I do that. But one thing that I think anyone can do, if you don't want to do the ABC, you don't want to do anything else, lean on your teammates. Like that's something that I even started using a bit more is just trying to be more engaged. Because when you're in your head and you're kind of like everything is on you,
Yeah.
you're stepping away from your team. You're stepping away from all of that. So if you can, just trying to lean on your teammates as much as possible. Go get a high five. Um, go get a fist bump. Go get something. You know, there's a popular mental coach in the States. His name is Brian Kane. He talks about the H3: hugs, handshake, high five.
High five. Yeah.
He's like, just go get one of those. Okay. And like, obviously, right away, what do I get with? Oh, I'm not going to hug my teammate. I'm a hockey player. I'm like, okay, I get that. But you can do something similar, you know, just a hand on the shoulder, whatever. Um, just go connect with someone, with something. We do it all the time. There's plenty of research about it. We
Yeah, I
can't
was
get into
gonna
that.
say there was one in the NBA where
Steve Nash. Yeah.
they focused on all the
Connection
teams and
and
they
yeah.
counted how much physical touch, and the teams that had the most physical touch in the
Have
games were
had
the
the
more successful teams.
more successful, had best offensive statistics, and everything was up, you know.
Yeah,
And a great example for that is one of our Canadian owned, Steve Nash, basketball player, MVP and of the league in 2005, 2006. And there's this one game where they counted how many high fives he would give a game. It was 250.
hmm.
250 connection, high five with teammates. You know, basketball game is 48 minutes in the NBA. So you look at the amount of high five, obviously within a game, it's a game is about 2 hour, 2 hour and a half. But he's just constantly touching. And always be careful when I say this, but I say team that connect with each other the most, okay, tends to usually, uh, play at a high level.
For sure. And it's interesting because there's certain sports that are known for kind of that physical touch, like volleyball between points, right?
Volleyball, oh yeah,
For
all the time.
example.
Yeah,
But there are some like, well, you don't really see any.
soccer.
Yeah.
There's none in
I don't know
soccer.
if that's kind of a like what that is or why that is, but
I mean, there's one element is the proximity on the field. They're very far from each other,
yeah, for sure.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's depending on what type of team you've had, maybe there's a cultural component. But I look in basketball, when you're running back on defense, you might run by me, my hand is gonna be there, you know. Hockey, you always come back to the bench. There's always
Yeah.
15 guys that are kind of waiting, or 12 guys that are kind of waiting for you on the bench. Volleyball, you're always kind of like pulling it back. Same for football. Soccer is one that when I started working with soccer teams at the beginning, it was a shock. I was like, yo, can you go give him a high five or something? And they were like, why? I'm not gonna run an extra 25
Yeah.
feet just for a high five. But you see, that was it, right? Just for a high five. That's kind of like the way they were seeing it. And again, I might be generalizing. If you're listening right now, you tell me that you guys play soccer and you're touching, doing high five a lot. That's great. Um, I would say, from my experience, my observation, there's not as much high fiving and handshake and all that in soccer.
No. I mean, you see it before the game, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, during,
during.
not so
Yeah,
much.
you sit at halftime, guys are coming back to the
Yeah,
bench, we're gonna give them a high five, but that's pregame, halftime, and a game. It's three
yeah,
moments, So
yes, not enough. Um, so can you think of an athlete that you've worked with who had a big shift, like a breakthrough, and kind of that kind of changed how they performed, but their mentality towards their sport. Like maybe there was an athlete who was just struggling and not enjoying it
hmm
and managed to turn it around through working on the mental side,
yeah.
or a team.
Yeah, I'll mention there's this one athlete, one goalie, uh one hockey goaltender a few years back. Goalies have the tendency of putting a lot of pressure on them. It's my fault, this, that. And I wasn't obviously a big fan of those terms. And we start working with that aspect of control that I was telling you about earlier. And that
Yeah,
I think the difference with him is he automatically connected with it. Automatically he was like, "Oh my God, Charles, you're right. You know, this is the only thing that I control." So it's almost like this weight got lifted up his shoulder from his shoulders.
yeah, you
And
kind of simplified it for him.
exactly. And
Yeah,
the way I work it, or the way I use it, is really, if it's not these, then the rest. This is the movement you gotta do in your mind. Like,
yeah.
don't control it. You know. So he really connected to that, and he was able to have a really strong campaign in high school. He's still in high school. We started this work when he was 13, 14. I think he's in grade 11 now, so he's near the end. That really made a shift for him, because like you mentioned, it was just about simplifying the work. You know, I think human beings have the tendency to complicate it, to
Yeah.
complicate things, me and you included. So once you simplify it, and it's something that I use myself, it definitely plays a big role. Another athlete, a tennis player, where we started working together when that athlete was in grade 7 or 8. That was actually one of my first athletes. And the one element about this athlete is that I've had the chance to kind of like followers for the last 5 years, and we're not really adding some stuff, but we're fine tuning, the concept that she knows.
Yeah.
And one thing I think she's really been able to realize is the power of self-talk, and how she talks to herself, and the narrative she's telling herself, and everything in between, right? How she sees herself, what she's telling herself, what she's thinking about herself, just everything kind of like you within yourself. And now that's
Hmm.
an athlete that is playing at the highest level possible in the United States for a student athlete. And she's been thriving, but that was a long uphill battle against mental performance, if I'm being truly honest. Not that she didn't believe in it, it's just I think we it was really tough to really do the work. Like,
Hmm.
just, hey, you can't just show up to your game. You got to do the routine. You got to do the visualization. You
Yeah.
got to do this. You got to set up goals. Like, that was something that was really, really tough at the beginning. And now we saw each other in August, and things have been good. Things have been really good. And you get to a point with some athletes where you don't have to see them every week. You don't have to see them every month. They
Yeah.
come back for a fine tuning, kind of like an oil change, and
Yeah.
I think that's the goal of our job. The job is not to have a client that you'll follow for 5 years, every week for 5 years. You know, you won't have any impact, but
Yeah.
you want them to come back when there's really something that they need help with. But yeah, that was two profile that I really, really enjoyed. There's many more, but I'd say those are the two that kind of jump. jump
For
out like that.
sure. That's yeah, it's interesting as well because you said like they're when they're actually doing the work, right, between sessions. And you can see that and the ones that have for me that have stood out and the ones that have taken it on board are actually doing the work between sessions. They've got their mental performance journal. They're writing down their reflections after performances and they are figuring out what self-talk works for them, how they visualize, how to put that into their routine,
Mm-hmm.
and they're working on it, and then you see the results start to happen. Sometimes I see they do it and then things start to go well and then they stop
Yeah.
because things started going well. So, oh, I'm good now. I don't need to do it anymore. And then they come back and see me and say, well, things aren't so great
Mm. Yeah.
because, you know, they've stopped kind of keeping the work. So I think that's an important one for people to take note of is that it's not just something you can do once and then you're good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant thing in life that you have to keep working on.
Yeah.
But I
It's
also say to people that it doesn't take you hours a day.
no. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you can spend 10, 15 minutes on doing something, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be your whole day spent working on it. So,
No. It's funny. I was just talking to some member of the staff here earlier today, and we were talking about performance habits, and I kind of showed them my habits and everything like that. And there's a part of my habits. It's journaling. It's you know mental imagery or visualization and affirmations and stuff like that. And they're just saying like, oh man, your habits must take you like so long to do. And I was like, well, I was like, if you look at all of this, which is my morning routine, I'm like, yeah, that's an hour 15. But I'm like, if I need to do if I need to meditate, I'll pull myself to the side and I'll do 5 minutes. It's not 25. And like,
yeah,
we get it. We understand. I think people are afraid that, it's going to take 3 hours and a half of your day. No, you know, is there a day where you can spend 3 hours and a half? Definitely. You do a lot of things. But
yeah,
most of the time, I'd rather you tell me you can do a consistent 15 minutes a day than a three and a half here and there. Like that's something that's an element that they need to understand for sure.
for sure. Yeah. And yeah, I think making it accessible, making it
Yeah.
as simple as possible that they can, you know, grab and go, if you will,
Yeah.
and they can actually just do it. And also doing things throughout the day, right? Like there's times where you're waiting for something, or
Mhm.
there's times where, you know, you're brushing your teeth and, you know, can you focus on brushing your teeth and kind of practice your mindfulness and your focus and your attention on those things. So throughout your day-to-day life, I'm sure there's so many ways
Yeah.
that you can practice, you know, the mental side, and it can be fun, right? There's elements,
Of
you know, there's a
course.
lot of I like to use concentration grids with athletes because it's a fun, it can be competition, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Concentration grid are great. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, so, yeah, they all enjoy those when you do a session together and do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's I think it's finding ways to A, make it enjoyable and B, how does it fit into your day-to-day life or make it fit.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's a
Um,
great point. You got to make it fit, and if mental performance is something that doesn't fit your schedule, and you really got to go out of your way, and if there's a lot of resistance, it's not gonna last. You
for
know,
sure.
the example I always use is, imagine you're trying to go to work, but your gym is 20 minutes this way. Who's gonna go 20 minutes away from work to then go to work in the morning? Like, you'll never go in the gym in the morning. You know, there's got to be no resistance or very little to resistance for you to work on that. And that's what we're here. Like, we're gonna try to help you to make that happen. Um, but at the same time, like, it starts with you. You got to come in with the right approach, right mindset, and things like that.
For sure. 100%. Okay, so let's finish with parents and coaches and kind of,
Yes.
they
Let's try
obviously
to do this
play.
quick. I can't believe it's been almost an hour since we've been
I
talking.
know it's flown by, but they play such a big role, right, on the mental side, parents and
Yes.
coaches,
Oh, for sure.
and sometimes they don't even realize it. Um, so for your experience, what's something that parents or coaches often do that accidentally adds pressure, do you think?
Mm. I'm big on vocabulary, just the words you're using. You must win. You must score. We should win this game.
Yeah.
Oh, this team, we've played against them. You should you should collect some points. You know, um, that's mostly parents. I think we have to be careful with coaches because there is a performance component.
Yeah.
Like some of the teams that I'm with, we're trying to win, we're trying to perform. So, we have a big weekend coming up. Like I think a coach should be allowed to say like, this is a must-win game for us. Without kind of getting hit on the hand or hit on the
Mm.
head on the hand, saying like, no, 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 you can't do that. Like I think there's a performance component in some of the sports where it's like, well, yeah, you are a competitive and high performance athlete, but
Yeah.
parents, I
Well,
would
and their
say,
job as
yeah,
well. Their
yeah,
job is,
well, yeah, of course,
to win.
yeah, their job is to bring some type of performance. We
Yeah.
can't accept with losing everything for 3 years. um Parents, I'm big on vocabulary. um One thing that I notice is difficult for with parents is when I see parents talking about other players in the kids team.
Yes.
So you're bringing a comparable that one, it's a friend, it's a teammate, so they don't see that person like that, right?
Hmm.
So I kind of call it when parents are hyper vigilant, and they're more like, I met this parent a few years back, and we talked on the phone. I wanted to ask him a question about something, and I remember he spent more time on the phone talking about another kid than its own kid. So that's when I was like,
Right.
okay, like we
Mm.
got to redirect the focus, that spotlight that we discussed. We got to bring it back to your child, not someone else's child. So for parents, I would say just focus on you, focus on the progress, on your progress and how you're developing, how you're improving. The rest, we kind of put that to the side. Um, Careful of the words you're using. Words add pressure, and it's gonna sound very like obvious, but
Yeah.
like the small jokes like, oh, if you don't score goals, we're not getting ice cream, or things like that. Oh, the grandparents are here, you better have a point. Like these very subtle little, you know, comments,
Yeah.
they can throw off a lot of athletes. So I would definitely get rid of those. My dad knows this, so I can share it. My dad was really like that. My dad was big on, I need three threes today. Like, you should make a lot of threes. It was always like that. So, you might get to a point where it doesn't bother you anymore and you're used to it, but a lot of us are not there yet. So for parents, I would say be careful with that. And for coaches, I would say have a game plan and really define what the game plan is and just stay within that structure that you've built. You don't need to add more. You don't need, like, most players are gonna know that it's a must win, that it's an important game, and that we can't afford to lose that game.
Yeah.
So coaches, I'd say there's no need to add more things to make things complicated. But I think that starts with just knowing your players.
For sure. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's it. And another thing for parents, I would add though as well, is kind of body language and facial expressions when you're watching your kid, because
Yeah.
so many people, when they do something good or when they make a mistake, they will look at their parents or coaches.
Hmm.
What are they what's their facial expressions? What is their body language telling me?
Yeah.
Are they, you know, are they happy with me or not? right? So I think checking that and kind of what are you saying, but also, yeah, how you're kind of carrying yourself as well.
Yeah.
Um, but it goes back to that whole thing of control. Like, if the parents and coaches can focus more on those things as well,
Yeah.
then it's going to be beneficial for everyone.
Yeah. No,
Um,
the body language is huge, and I think if parents or even coaches are noticing athletes or looking at them a lot, just be mindful of your body language, like the classic facial expression after a missed shot, misplay, like those do not help as well.
no, for sure. Okay, so let's finish up with a
Quick hitters,
quick,
eh?
pardon?
Quick hitters.
Yeah, rapid fire. Here we go. Let's see. What can I? Okay, so what is your go-to hype song?
Go
What
to
is your?
hype song. Ooh,
Yes.
it's gonna sound weird. Kodak Black, Tunnel Vision. I don't, he talks about tunnel vision, and everybody wants to see you failing. So just keep remind with that tunnel vision, you know. So that's one. So tunnel vision or hunger on the hillside by J. Cole. Also,
Okay.
you know that they're not the typical hype song, but I know for me, I've got a playoff game on Monday. Those are the songs I'm gonna be listening to.
All right. So it's maybe the more of the message.
What's up?
The
Yeah,
message
the
that the
message.
songs
Yeah.
are. Yeah. Okay. What do you think the most underrated mental skill or mental tool is?
Oh my God. I feel like they're all underrated. But I'm gonna say one that maybe people are not expected. The power of meditation. Meditation before sleep, when you wake up in the middle of the day. It's a beautiful thing. There is so much benefits at all level. Whether you do 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 20 minutes, there's so much benefits. And I listen to a lot of podcasts on when I train, when I run, whatever. And meditation always comes back. It was
Hmm.
this morning I was listening to a podcast about the Diary of the CEO, which is one of the most popular podcasts in the world. And he was talking about meditation and how all because he interviews billionaires and very successful businessmen and business people, businessman, businesswoman, and meditation keeps coming back. And
Hmm.
you know, I've been using more meditation with my athletes. I've been meditating for the last 6, 7 years. It's not new for me. It's part of my morning routine. So underrated one, meditation. Really.
Okay. Okay. Favorite book or resource that you recommend for athletes who want to kind of dive more into the mental side?
A very popular one. It doesn't focus strictly about sports. It does, but not all the time. Atomic Habits, James Clear. Great way to learn about the impact of your habits, marginal gain, having a system in place,
Hmm.
understanding the process of habits, right? The cue, the routine, the reward, and how to how to implement an habit and how to take away an habit, a negative habit. I mean, I hope one day I get to meet James Clear. Phenomenal book. You need to read it, and it doesn't matter what your situation is.
Hmm.
Um, young, old, average, new to sports, old to sports, amateur, pro. It's a great read with a ton of gems that are applicable in everything that you do.
All right. Go get it. Go read it.
Yeah,
I do have
I'm
it.
yeah,
I don't think I've read it all yet, but
oh man. Well, Andrew, putting you on the spot.
I know I've got so many books that
Yeah,
I'm looking at them right now. Like I need to read this, but
get this one out. I'm telling you, it's a
yeah.
quick read. You get yourself, I mean, I know you've got kids, so you're a busy man, but get yourself a cup of coffee in the morning and you know, you sit down with a book, you'll go through 100 pages just like that.
Okay. And okay, final one.
Yes.
What athlete do you like to like reference a lot in terms of their
Mm,
mental game? and their story.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few that I use. Um, for some reason, none are coming to mind right now, but there's a few that I use. I'm gonna say Stephen Curry. I talk about Stephen Curry a lot. Well, one, he's fantastic. He's phenomenal. But two, it's a guy that that could have been really happy with just making it to the NBA and you're shooting
Mm,
threes and that's it. Your dad played in the NBA. You're kind of like already there, you know. But every year he gets better, and every year he's doing things differently and trying new things. And I look at his come up was difficult. He had injuries, but he didn't stop believing. They had a team where they were young. You know, they had a new style. He took some risk. Him and the whole Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry meditates. Steph Curry does those cognitive exercise that are not as popular as we think. Steph Curry does all of that, and Steph Curry's a family man. He's somebody that has a set of beliefs, values. Um, there's a lot that I take from him. Um, I'm not even looking at the performance component of it, but
yeah,
one thing about Steph that I really find extremely impressive is his we call irrational confidence. It's just this man will be 0 for 10 from threes and he'll shoot another
yeah,
one without hesitating. And he probably is the best example of that, of not caring what other people think. Because if Steph Curry is 0 for 10, the defense is still gonna close out if he catches the ball because they know he's gonna shoot it, and they know that he's 0 for 10, but he can make the next 10 if one drops. So I would say Steph Curry for sure. Yeah.
okay, awesome. Um, Bob, thank you very much for being my first guest
Yeah.
on the podcast.
An honor, honestly.
Yes. So yeah, so before we close it out, let me ask you this: if athletes remember just one thing from our conversation today, what should it be?
Wow, that's a great question. And we talked about a lot of things.
We did.
Um,
No pressure.
no, 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 none whatsoever. I would say start with something that makes sense for you. Start with something that there will be little resistance for you to add to your routine, add to your
Hmm.
practice. And I would also say start with something that you know you'll be able to keep up with. Good days, bad days, right? So a small example, it could be just after game, after practice reflection, 2, 3 questions. You do
Yeah.
that in the bus on the way home. You do that in the car home with your parents. You come up with a few questions. How was this? How was that? But start with something that you know if you start today, you start this season, it's gonna have an impact, you know? And believe, you know, trying to picture yourself in 6 months if you actually stick with it, you know? Like that's something that I use with myself when I don't know, I try to diet, I try and exercise. I'm big on trying new things. I try to picture myself, hey, if I respect this exercise for the next 6 months, where could I be physically, mentally, and all of that? So I would say that start with something small that we'll be able to keep up with, and there'll be little resistance to it.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Nice. I like that. Um, well, for me, like a big highlight from today was focusing more on, yourself and what you can control, right? I
Yes.
think starting to think about that and making a list of, well, what is it that I can control? And
Mm-hmm.
what do I focus on that I can't control? And then
Yeah.
you start to recognize how much time and energy you maybe waste on things that
Mm-hmm.
I can't control that.
I
So,
don't. Yeah.
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 So, where can listeners find you?
Yes.
Where's the
Great
best
point.
place?
So my website, it's millerconsulting2020.com. I made the website in 2020. I mean, I got the domain in 2020. So that's why it's there. People tell me to take it off, but there's a part of me that wants to keep it because that's when I started, and it's my own thing. That's my website, or just go on. If you go on Google and you write Miller Consulting, I'll be the first one to pop out. Instagram, Miller_consulting. I'm sure, I mean, my social will be on the post that you're gonna make
For
anyway, I'm
sure.
sure.
Yep.
But if you even write my name, Charles Miller, mental performance, it should come out. I would say try me on Instagram. I answer all the questions, all the messages I get. Um, that's really something that I want to do. I'll leave you on a piece of advice, even for you, Andrew, right? When I was coming up as a mental performance coach, I had a few mentors here and there, and one of them taught me a lot about what I did not want to do as a CMPC. Truly did. And he was never available. He was really bad with follow-ups. You couldn't really count on him. And I remember being
Right.
like, I'm never gonna be like that.
Yeah.
So one saying that I try to do, and maybe it's gonna change the day I'm gonna have kids, but I always say your best ability is availability. So I don't want to be the CMPC or the mental performance coach where you message me and you don't hear back for 5 weeks, or you don't hear back ever, or
At
your
all.
question
Yeah.
kind of just goes in a folder or whatever. It maybe I'll be different one day if something happens and or whatever, but even then I feel like I'm still gonna make that chance that I'm still gonna make sure that I respect that. I was reading a book. Was it a few weeks ago? It was a top spokesman in the United States, and at the end of the book, his personal email address is there, and
Hmm.
he literally goes, "Ask me a question, I will reply to it. It will not be an assistant. It will not be AI generated. I will respond to your email." And I thought, great. You know what I did? I emailed him, and I got a response. The name doesn't come back right now. I'm trying to look back at my book, but I just thought, one of the best ability is your availability.
100%. Yeah.
Cool.
No, that's something that I think is important. Um, all right. So, well, this has been such a fun conversation.
Yes, it has. It definitely
A
has.
big step for the podcast. I've learned some things. I'm sure that listeners will have as well. And I hope, listeners, you've enjoyed this episode. So make sure you subscribe, share it with a teammate, a parent, a coach.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, there's more guests lined up. So I'm looking forward to it. And finally, thank you, Charles, for coming on,
Of course.
giving us your time and your
Yes.
knowledge.
Yeah, it was great. Just want to thank you again. And people that are listening, start small, listen to this, re-listen to it, send it to a friend, teammate, a parent, and you know, all of this starts with a conversation. Getting better starts with a conversation. I think what we did today, Andrew, was definitely a start for that. So I want to thank you for making me your first guest, and I look forward to the episode being out.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. And until next time.
Until next time. Ciao, Andrew.
Thank you.